and I'm not part of your rainbow community, yeah. But I kind of, and I don't, so I don't get it entirely because it doesn't impact me. So I'm just being really honest and saying, you know, I'm a cisgendered 6'4" white male who's never really suffered in the hands of being in public or being fearful for my safety or any of that kind of stuff. So I can empathize with it and I can hear people's stories and understand, but I don't have a personal understanding of it, right? And saying all of that, there was something that I really offended me, almost, maybe the wrong word, upset me from what the minister had to say in the weekend when she talked about this, because even if I don't understand it, I hear your community and I hear what your community says about the vulnerable nature of the rainbow community. And this is when she said this about including the religious community to legislation. This is what she said.
As we bring about these small changes to the Human Rights Act, is to ask political leaders to do what they can to minimise harm, make sure that we're looking after those most vulnerable within our communities, and let the debate that we have, let it be an intelligent, well-versed debate that's based on principles, not snap grab one-liners for media soundbites.
The thing that I found most sort of abhorrent about that sentence is her talking about the most vulnerable. So she's putting the religious community and identifying it as the most vulnerable. Now, there's sometimes debate out there about harms that are done and stats around harms that are done within the rainbow community. But I struggle to believe, from someone who understands a bit about religious communities, that the religious community in general are more vulnerable than many in the rainbow community. So I don't know how you felt about her saying that, but I took umbrage at it based on what I understand my friends and family and colleagues are saying, what they face within that community. And what I hear is we're going to look after these people who are the most vulnerable, but the ones that I understand are more vulnerable, we'll leave them out. Whether the legislation is good, bad, or indifferent, just that idea that the religious community are basically the most vulnerable kind of fucked me off, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's frustrating because obviously we're talking about huge groups with so many intersectionalities within them, right? Like, you know, if you were to ask, you know, me if I thought as a, you know, a cisgender white, you know, gay man, if I felt more vulnerable than, you know, a Muslim individual after the, you know, March 15 attacks, I would say, no, actually, okay, that Muslim person would have felt, you know, more vulnerable, right? And I think there are nuances, obviously, within this conversation, different intersectionalities that we bring to the vulnerable equation, if you like. And so, yeah, I don't think the government and or the minister could sit there and quite rightly say,
you're being very polite, Max. You're being very polite, and you're being, because listen, the reason that, and I support my Muslim friends and community around me, but the reason that the Muslim community feels so vulnerable at the moment is because of a horrific act of terrorism committed on them on March 15th. I'm not the expert here, but when I stop and listen, the reason that I hear so many feel so vulnerable within the rainbow community is because it's hard for them to live their day-to-day life without any terrorist attack going on at all the time. So I understand what you're saying, and I'm not making that comment to disparage the Muslim community, but you wouldn't say the most vulnerable when it came to the Christian community. You wouldn't say the most vulnerable when it came to the Baha'i community. You wouldn't say, so it's because of a horrific act that the Muslims are at the top of the list, so to speak, and I'm there with them. But it's not just because of who they are and how they live that they're made to be vulnerable. It's because they were attacked in one horrific event. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I do think that for the minister to kind of say that we are protecting the most vulnerable by this announcement is not true. And my personal views on religion, of course, is that, you know, it is an individual choice for people. Obviously we in the rainbow community are not at liberty to choose who we are. And I think anyone that thinks we do, I don't know why in this current climate you think we would choose this way. Yeah. But you know, that is the fundamental difference here. You are right. And do I believe that anyone should be, you know, persecuted or discriminated against because of that religion they chose? Absolutely not.
Yeah, agreed.
But, you know, to say that they are the most vulnerable, you know, again, there are these nuances within it, but generally, do I agree with that statement? No, especially when it's in the context of excluding other vulnerable minority groups from hate speech legislation that it was kind of designed to protect.